Hey everybody, good morning once again. Professor Doom here. So hopefully I'm going to remember everything I'm going to want to cover in this video because I got a lot of things racing through my mind here as I had seen this and a lot of other developments and a lot of other agenda type information that I think you guys are going to think I'm out of my flipping mind when I even explain it to you, but let's get into it. So the Planet X channel has revealed some new observations, and I do believe that he's actually off by several years. And what is interesting is think about how long they have known this object is up there. And is that possibly why Deagle.com had put out their depopulation projection reports having to do with a specific race of individuals that are going to be decimated? I don't know. That's, like I said, you guys are going to think I'm out of my mind when I'm going to tell you half of what I'm going to tell you in this video. So anyway, he goes on to state that we have 6 years left before all hell breaks loose. And I do believe that it is far less than that. Let's take a look at some of the observations that were made with the solar scope, if you will. Let's move this ahead here. And let's take a look. There's a few things that, let me see if I can start from the beginning of my thought process here. There was a time on this earth when, let's take the Hopi Indians, for instance. There was a time that they had to be rescued from a race of beings from within the earth. And I find it interesting that someone made a comment to me stating that Israel says that their help will come from within the earth. Now, you know, what is also very interesting about the Hopi and the Blue Kachina legend is that there is going to come a time when it will happen again. And you know, there is many, many more people on this earth today than there was then, and we're not all going to be rescued. If you take a look at places like Kuyu or the Longyu cavern caves in China, if you are unfamiliar with that, take a look at those. Absolutely astounding. Not only how they were found by a farmer digging a well and it led down into a cavern, and it was all man-made, deep underground, and it could hold many tens of thousands of people, just like Kuyu, just like the Hypogeum of Malta. And think about all the other locations that have yet to be discovered. Why did they have to go deep underground to rescue themselves? Who gave them the information that they needed to do so to spare their own lives? Well, think about that race of individuals that came from underground called the Ant People that rescued those Hopi Indians. Very interesting, right? Well, everything that we're seeing going on right now that I've expounded upon several times, the volcanoes, the earthquakes. Let's take a look now at some of the earthquakes and what is going on with the volcanic activity, or I should say the potential for volcanic activity surrounding those earthquakes. But before we go take a look at that, I want you to think about all of the severe storm activity that's been going on. And I know there are some people that are going to think, well, wait a minute. I think it's quite possible, this is you speaking, it's quite possible that these storms were steered into the location that was going on. Take a look at Acapulco. Take a look at Turkey several days ago, maybe even it was a week or so or more ago. Take a look at the Black Sea. Take a look at the flooding that hit New York just several weeks ago. If you take a look at all of the storm activity, take a look at all of the earthquake activity, take a look at all the volcanic activity, take a look at all the solar activity that we got going on, what best explains the reason that the people in ancient times were warned to go underground or were assisted in taking them underground? Why? It's because every time this celestial object approaches our sun and our earth, there is going to be disastrous consequences. It's always happened. If you think about the fact that Pangea is a real thing, how did all of the continents spread apart? How did that happen? Why does it appear that all of the earthquakes, here, let me show you. These are all of the 5 magnitude earthquakes or higher that have taken place in the last 24 hours. In the Papua New Guinea area, right here, was a 6.5. But what will you notice about all of the earthquakes? Take a look. Here, let me zoom it in closer for you and you'll see. Let's take a look. You just saw the one at Alaska, right? Well, here, let's go back over this way, just so you guys can see it. You see the ridges where this would indicate where our continents have spread apart. Look at, they're all on ridges, or they are very near volcanic calderas. Take a look. Right on a ridge, near a volcano. Do you guys understand what I'm talking about? Look at this. Look at this one here. Right? Right there near volcanoes, or right on crustal ridges, right there near a volcano. Did you guys understand where I'm going with this? Do you guys understand what I'm talking about? Okay. So hold on, let me back this out so you guys can see. Okay. Now, since you guys see that, let me now go to all earthquakes in the past 24 hours. We're seeing Iceland. Look at all, these are all right on the sides of these continents. So you ask yourself this question. What is causing all of these earthquakes? And would we expect to see increase in magnitude of earthquakes and frequencies, or the frequency of earthquakes? Is this exactly what the ancients saw as the continents were splitting apart from its state of Pangea? That is my question. But, okay, as I've already pointed out, the severe weather patterns that have been going on. Don't forget Libya on September 11th of this year, Turkey, Black Sea, from the insane magnitude of a storm that hit right on the east coast of the United States. Just think of them all. Think of them all. What is causing it? And is this the reason why you had a certain deity, well, at least according to the Sumerian tablets, warn a certain somebody, hey buddy, you better create a boat and you better put a bunch of animals in it because there's no way to stop what is coming. But, my friends, what exactly was the reason, according to the Bible and the tablets, for destroying mankind to begin with? If you read your Bible in Genesis chapter 6, it was because the Beni Ha-Elohim were taking the sons of daughters of wives, all which they chose. And the Nephilim were born unto them. Well, what exactly would be the outcome of these gods having sex with mankind? And we know that they actually still lived even after the flood. The sons of Anak, the Rephaim, the Zamzumim, all of these different people seem to be, well, offspring of the gods having sex with mankind. Did you ever wonder what race of people that exist on this planet today seem to be, because I happen to be that race, and I hate to say it this way, and I told you guys may think that I'm out of my mind for saying this, but there appears to be a reason why the government is keeping track of all of our DNA and our blood types and the people that we are. Did you ever wonder if a particular race of people seems to be out of place on this earth, seems to believe that they are the most dominant race on this earth? And now there appears to be a push to make that race believe that, well, your dominance on this earth has gone on far too long. All of the white privilege, yes, you heard me say it. White privilege, the attack now. Why now? But you know what? There's something else interesting as well. Do you see the transgender agenda for what it is? Think about this interesting fact, folks. Every single civilization that is known that depicted their gods spoke as if their gods were androgynous. Yes, androgynous. And it wasn't just like Osiris and Isis. It wasn't just Baal and Anat. It wasn't just El and Ashtoreth that were explained to their tablet readers as being androgynous. Do you see something weird going on here? But there's something else that's always perplexed me that possibly doesn't perplex me anymore. In the Bible, in the very first chapters of Genesis, it spoke about two brothers, Cain and Abel. And do you know what's interesting about their story? Mankind was not eating meat at the time that Abel was a shepherd. But he created what? Or I'm sorry, he didn't create anything, but he kept livestock for who? Was it just for the milk? Was it just for what? You remember in the beginning, mankind was eating plants and vegetables and blah, blah, blah. Who were the animals for? Well, if you think about when the gods were on this earth and these sacrifices were going on to the gods, was it the gods who were eating all of this? And is the reason why the agenda to push the global population away from eating meat is to put it right back into the way it was in old times of the Bible? That we're not eating meat? It seems rather strange, this agenda that they're pushing on everybody. There will be no meat eating, blah, blah, blah. You will fall in line with this transgender agenda. You know what else is interesting about the transgender agenda? It's this. They're pushing it down your throat, but they'll be damned if they let you push back and push straightness down their throat. Do you see the big push here? Do you see the agenda? How effed up it is? If you go and there's a kid who had a shirt on him and he was making a First Amendment right statement. There's only two genders, but they attacked him for doing so, for him making this statement. But in the schools, they can have transgender statements and they will force it on the kids and they will push it on them and they have to accept it. But they'll be damned if they will accept your statements of straightness or that there's only two genders. Does that concern everybody? Does it concern everybody? The books that they're pushing on everybody. There was a pastor who was just speaking in a school, and he was reading a passage from the book that is in their very own library, and they didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to be exposed to what their books are pushing on the kids. Does everybody see a big problem going on here? And there's a reason why this is going on now. This hasn't gone on for years. Everybody was normal, singing Kumbaya. The earth was in a great state. And now, look at in the past 15 years. It is as if they are preparing this earth for something, for some reason, for some visit. And if you take a look right now at all of the activity our earth is going through, not only just from the agendas, not only just from that, but if you take a look into your skies, what I just showed you at the beginning, and think about all of the people that were warned in ancient times, get your ass underground. Why are all of these deep underground bases being built in Colorado, in the Ozarks in Missouri? Well, I hate to inform you guys, but we haven't been invited to their party. And to think that we only have so many years left, well, as I've already stated in other videos, I do believe that the only thing that is propping us up from sheer destruction already has been the HARP systems push using radio frequencies to as radio waves or as repelling gravitational waves. Gravity can have a severe effect. Just like I explained to you, I gave you guys an example. If you have the weight of a car coming down on the front tires of your car, right? There's a lot of weight. Think of that tire as a planet. Think of the gravitational force being the car's front end engine and coming down. Well, sometimes if your tire is not strong enough and the belts spread apart, what do you see? That's right. You see an air bubble coming out the side of your tire. Think about all that you're seeing with the volcanoes. When that gravitational force becomes so strong on your planet, that it starts heating up the inside, you're going to see what? You're going to see volcanoes. You're going to see, guess what? Then when that happens, and then because you got that air bubble, you can feel a vibration, right? Because the balance is off on your tire. Mini earthquakes, right? Well, now we're talking about a grander scale here. We're talking about a planet. And you look at all of the earthquakes, look at all of the volcanoes, look at all of the severe storms, look at all of the agendas taking away the meat from the populace. Who's it going to go to? And think about the tablets told us about why those visitors would collect gold. And now there has been evidence of gold mines being mined in the 10s and 20s and 30,000 years ago. Why exactly was gold so important? Why? Because of its intrinsic value? Do you really believe that that was the true purpose of gold's value? Well, if you take a look at your tablets, and you're going to see that the reason why they needed gold was to prop up their atmosphere to block out what? Look exactly, if that's a planet that I just showed you in the beginning, what could you use in your atmosphere to keep out harmful solar rays as you're approaching a solar system? Or not, excuse me, if you're already here and you're approaching from a closest to the sun, well, you got to remember that we're already talking about a reptilian race, because that's exactly what the Anunnaki race were depicted as by the ancient people. And it wasn't just the Sumerians that depicted these gods as reptilian. And isn't it just so interesting that we just saw a Mountain Dew commercial, and wow, he looks in the mirror and he's a reptile. Some people may conclude that that was a whole different reason why that commercial was showing a reptile, a bird, and so on and so forth. Well, the whole thing is you didn't have to make a commercial like that. That's the whole point. But you're showing us, okay, so why didn't they show one of the other characters first? Why not the bird or the other one? But it was right to a reptile. Well, there is a lot of strangeness going on, from presidents pretending to be presidents wearing masks, from a guy coming out for the past 30 years, David Icke, saying that there are reptilian shapeshifters that are guiding our countries, that are leading our countries, that are in royalty, royal blue blood. A lot of strangeness to talk about here in this video. And I have been just going off on a storm and a tangent right here. Hopefully you guys will understand where I'm coming from. I will leave you guys with that. Hopefully you have tuned in this long. It's time for me to get ready to go to work. Thanks, everybody.